Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the podcast where we discuss all things Usmnt, La Liga MX, and La Selección Mexicana. My name is Adrian. Join me once again, my co-host Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's good, man?
Hey, how's it going, man? Glad to be back in the States. I spent the weekend down in Monterrey, but it's nice to be back home with my dogs and just ready to get back on the puro pinche gol wagon.
Glad to have you back, man. Glad your travels went well. Glad to see you back home, ready to record. And who isn't glad and who isn't getting a lot of positive press lately is the USMNT, specifically the man for today's topic, Yunus Musah. Yunus Musah Adrian, the reason for today's video, has been playing pretty poorly as of late. Not even as of late, really since his move to AC Milan, hasn't really settled in, hasn't found any rhythm, hasn't found any form, hasn't really made a position his. But yeah, I think it just comes to show that, maybe this is a move that came too early for a young player to a big club, or a club that, it's just le pesa mucho too big for this player.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting take because if we're gonna make I guess a overview of all the USMNT players in Europe at the end of the season, right? Like we normally do, but this is a very very interesting case because Yunus Musah, back in 2022, he came out as a one of the brightest sparks from that World Cup, right?
Right.
And he looked dynamic, he looked press resistant, and full of energy on almost every single match. But if you fast forward to today, to 2025, and this second half of the season, it's tough that we're asking ourselves what happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we normally do a recap of the performances for the USMNT players at the end of the video, at the end of the season. But the reason this kind of stood out to us here was not just because of performances as of late, but really the most recent performance from AC Milan, where he was subbed out in the 24th minute after giving up a goal. He's the one that kind of lost that ball in the midfield. And that's something you really don't see too often. A player
Yeah,
who's playing so poorly that gets subbed off before half of the first half, right? So
yeah.
let's kind of go through a couple stats here for Yunus Musah. I agree with you, Adrian. I think he was one of the standouts for the World Cup, one of the big surprises. He turned 20 during the World Cup. So he's 19/20 during that World Cup. And since then, he's really stagnated, not done himself any favors for AC Milan or for the United States.
Yeah.
As we know about, he grew up kind of through the Arsenal and Valencia academies, went on to play for Valencia B, and then Valencia, the main team from 2020 to 2023. 94 caps, 2 goals there. And since 2023, he's been with AC Milan with 55 appearances, no goals as of yet. And 41 appearances for the United States and 1 goal for the United States in that time. As we recall, that was that 1 goal against Panama a couple months ago, I think like 5 or 6 months ago. The first game for Mauricio Pochettino, and the first goal under the Mauricio Pochettino era was Yunus Musah. But Adrian, man, we've seen him used everywhere in the midfield, right? Even sometimes on slight occasions in the back, but mainly as a midfield. He's played on the left, he's played on the right, he's played as
Mhm.
attacking mid, like a number 8. He's played defensively, like an Edson Alvarez role. And he's just unable to really make that position his. Oftentimes, not being too productive in the final third to really be a number 8, not getting a lot of assists, not getting any goals for AC Milan, and oftentimes poor positioning when he's playing, on the right or left, or even defensive midfield. So, yeah, he was handed a rare start this past weekend, like we mentioned, and was horrible in the match the first 24 minutes. Being pulled. So, I mean, what do you think is causing this dip in form, Adrian?
It's a tough one, man, because he really, I think, while I was going through the agenda that you put together, and I was doing some, I was looking at some stats breakdown from this specific season for Yunus Musah. As you said, 0 goals, 2 assists. I was looking at pass completion, key passes per 90 minutes, and tackles per interceptions, just based on the different roles that he has been playing, right? And I really started to think, like, is it too early to say that he has hit a ceiling, or is this just a blip on a very young career, right? Um, I think it's worth mentioning maybe the psychological side, right? He has admitted that he feels pressure during matches, even though like he says, and most of his peers and the manager as well has said that he finishes well in training. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's a healthy player. He's putting out the work during training, but he admits to have difficulty dealing with the pressure. Maybe as a very young lad at a very big club, it has been just a very difficult obstacle challenge for him mentally speaking, right?
Yeah,
Um, and also, let's this not exempt him from any, I guess, doubts or criticisms that we're making. But he had to deal, or he's been dealing with 3 different managers at Milan, right? So that has to be
that's
also a
true.
contributing factor to his per performances. What do you think?
Yeah, three since this last summer, right? So
Hmm.
a lot of managers, a lot of changes, and no, yeah, I agree. I think it's a mixture of things. Adrian, positives for him. He's made 36 appearances so far for AC Milan this season across all competitions. For someone that's not playing well, that's a lot of appearances for one of the
Yeah,
biggest clubs
yeah,
in Europe, right?
hmm,
But no, I think he he just he's not finding that rhythm, that consistency, and I
yeah,
believe what you're saying that is it. Well, to be fair to him, let me get this point across first. To be fair to him, all of AC Milan is playing pretty mediocre, right?
yes,
He's not. It's not like he's getting really. He has had chances here and there throughout the tournament, throughout the season to finish. Maybe should have done better on a few of those. Maybe should have had 2 or 3 goals. I can remember a couple tap ins that he should have finished, but he's not a natural finisher. So expecting him to be a goal scorer is ridiculous. Expecting
it's
him
unfair.
to give an
Yeah,
assistant, as an assist, always is ridiculous. But what we did see him shine in the 2022 World Cup, his defensive prowess, it's just not showing. And yeah, could it be simply, Adrian, that we're asking too much of a 22-year-old young lad? It could be. Could it be that this move came too early for him in his career? That as well. But
yeah.
do you think going into the summer that a move or a loan is out of the question, or can you see that materializing?
I, we briefly discussed this before starting recording the episode, right? I think if the situation if you finish the season, which is maybe like a month long or a month and a half away from being done, if we finish the season with this tone and there's no intention of changing the coach for the next season, then I wouldn't be surprised if Yunus Musah becomes like a like an exchange token, right? Or uh, one of the first names on the list for potential loans or transfers for AC Milan. Um, I I, I wouldn't be surprised, because it just seems that he's not necessarily fitting on Conceição's scheme of things, right? I just don't see how Yunus Musa can become a regular. Well, even though he's been playing regularly, right? I don't see how
Mhm.
he can become a mainstay for AC Milan in the near future or the next season.
Yeah, especially after not displaying, being given chances, multiple chances, but not really
Mhm.
paying it back, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, difficult situation there for Yunus Musah, someone who a lot of fans in the Usmnt feel has stagnated. I think still too early to kind of claim that for
yeah,
him. As far as it goes for the USMNT, his form not great. Like much of the USMNT recently, right? There isn't much to say or much to praise regarding his form for a country. Like we said, he didn't get that first goal for Pochettino, but that's really the only positive as of late for him in the
yeah.
USMNT shirt. So definitely let us know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Yunus Musah's form recently? Do you think he'll be moving abroad, or not abroad, but moving away from AC Milan this summer, either to a loan or permanent move? What do you think is causing this dip in form for him ever since the 2022 World Cup? He just hasn't looked the same. The man, as we wrap up this episode, brother, where can our listeners find us, dude?
They can always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Instagram and TikTok. We post memes, latest news, and shorts of our episodes.
Yes, be sure to follow us, like I said, on your preferred social media platform of choice, and let us know in the comments below. Like I said, what are your thoughts on this subject? Or you can also let us know in the comments on Spotify. We like to read your comments and interacting with you guys. Adrian, interesting episode, interesting topic. We'll see how Yunus Musah turns it around for the end of this season and moving forward. See you in the next one, brother.
Take it easy, my friend.
See you.